as a family.
Marvel's first family is here with the Fantastic Four trailer finally dropping for the movie coming out this July, which I'm pretty excited for. I really like how this trailer looks because it gives you a very unique style compared to the rest of the MCU we've seen so far. Because this movie is being set in 1963 in this retro futuristic world, which actually kind of reminds me of the Jetsons a little bit if you ever watched that cartoon. Because of how retro it looks, obviously, with the futuristic look to it, which I think is really interesting, especially because the Fantastic Four first appeared in 1961, making them appear again back in the 1960s. So it's kind of like this nice homage to the characters where they originated from, while also giving us that uniqueness. Because they're most likely in another universe as well, because this isn't the main MCU timeline, because of how futuristic the city looks with their flying cars and everything. I mean, we have seen flying cars in the first Captain America movie where Howard Stark was creating them, but that never actually came to fruition in the main MCU. And I do have a theory to go along with them being set in this different world, where this could actually be the Fantastic Four that's actually from the main MCU timeline, Earth 616, or better actually known as Earth 199999. During Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange, when he's talking to Reed Richards during the Illuminati scene, he mentions that the Fantastic Four charted in the 60s, which this also takes place in the 60s. So what could be actually happening here is that the Fantastic Four charted in the 60s, went through their accident, and came out in another universe, just like how when we saw the Marvels, that Monica Rambeau ended up in another universe. So this way they've been trapped somewhere else this entire time, became famous, became known as this super family, and became heroes in this world that might not have any other heroes. And the thing is, so far I really like this because it does feel like a family, especially with Ben Grimm cooking and hanging out with Herbie as they're in the kitchen, and the way he's talking, it just feels very like relaxed, and they've been like this for a while, and it just feels like they're connected more than just being superheroes, which I really like seeing. Plus, the look of Ben Grimm is just absolutely classic comic look, and I think it actually looks really, really well done. Definitely better than Fan 4 Stick. Then on top of it, with Herbie being there, it's cool to see him finally making his live action appearance. He first appeared in the cartoons from 1978, and in the comics, he was Xandarian technology that was used to track down Galactus' domain, which Galactus is in this movie, so maybe there's a connection there. And especially because we have seen the Xandarians in the MCU before, it would be cool to start connecting it to like the bigger, wider, vast universe that we have seen so far. And in this trailer, they also go over the Fantastic Four's powers, all except Reed Richards, which Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, can stretch his body in any way, which I'm surprised we actually didn't get to see that, but we did get to see Seuss turning invisible. We have also seen a little bit of her force field powers as well, and I really like the way they did this because you can kind of see the little sparkles, which I think looks really cool, and then Johnny Storm turning into fire with his fire powers, which I think is awesome. I'm just honestly surprised we didn't hear Flame On during the trailer, but I am excited to see what they do with him. Then Ben Grimm has his rock form, and we even see him in his classic trench coat, which he uses to go around without drawing attention to himself, so I'm excited to see what's going to come from that. In some of the earlier trailers, they showed at some of the events that happened before this, people did talk about seeing a blind date scene with Ben Grimm, which could lead to Alicia Masters, which is his wife in the comic. She's blind, so I'm curious to see if they're going to set her up. However, if they're going to do it where this actually does connect to the main MCU, maybe we won't see her until they make their way into the main universe. There's also been rumors for a long time now that the Mole Man might be making his appearance, one of Fantastic Four's classic villains, because he first appeared in Fantastic Four #1. So it'd be really cool to see some of these more classic villains. Maybe we don't see them in the entire film because the Fantastic Four have been heroes for a bit here. Maybe we'll just see them in like flashbacks and mentions, which would be still pretty cool. We also see the Baxter Building and the Fantastic Car, which honestly look amazing. I really like the design of the Fantastic Car because it's just like this futuristic hover car, which that looks really cool. I'm wondering if they're going to change it to be this bigger Fantastic Car to fit all Fantastic Four in it, just like how the comics has this more rounder one to fit Ben. Then on top of it, we see John Malkovich, which has been rumored to be playing the Red Ghost, which the Red Ghost first appeared in Fantastic Four #13 from 1963. And in this comic, he's attempting to recreate the accident that gave the Fantastic Four their powers by traveling to the blue side of the moon. And by doing that, he did succeed in a way where his apes got different types of powers, and he got invisibility powers. So we could be seeing the super apes in this as well, which would be kind of comedic. And in the comic, when he does travel to the blue side of the moon, he does get captured by the Watcher. We could see a version of the Watcher in this way, which I think would be really cool to make his more live-action debut, interacting more than just talking to Stan Lee. Also, on top of it, in Galactus' first appearance, we also saw the Watcher in Fantastic Four #48. So that's just another clue that the Watcher could be making his appearance, because he was the one that warned them that Galactus is coming. And Galactus from the comics is a world devourer that goes around and consumes life force from planets as sustenance. So definitely we're seeing that, as we saw Galactus in this trailer with his more comic book accurate look. And you may be asking yourself, why does Galactus look so small? And that's because he has size alteration powers, so he's probably just making himself smaller to check out the planet in some way. And then he goes against the Fantastic Four as he enters New York City. Now, the thing I like about this Galactus design is that it's going more comic book route, that it's not a giant smoke cloud like the original Fantastic Four movies. So it's actually really nice to see a more comic accurate Galactus and to see the celestial being make his appearance. And I'm very curious to see what they do with them, because I'm actually shocked they used him in the first Fantastic Four movie, but maybe they have plans to just set him up and use him again for other things. But this could also be him destroying their planet and the Fantastic Four escaping to the main MCU timeline. If they did originally come from it, it could just be their way returning home and finally coming back to the MCU to see what's going on, and that'll lead to Secret Wars and Doomsday, and I'm very excited to see what they do with the Fantastic Four, honestly. We haven't seen them in a long time. It's cool to see them with everyone else, and I can't wait to see these characters interact with some of the other characters in the main MCU. And I got some theories to go along with this trailer as well, with because they were taking inspiration from a bunch of different comic storylines, but I've seen people mention Hickman's run, which in Hickman's run, Reed Richards makes a portal to see through to other multiverses, and that's where he discovers a Council of Reeds. This could be him opening a portal that sees into the main MCU, which would make sense if they're trying to escape that planet after Galactus destroys it. They could be making their way to the main MCU timeline. If this leads into the Council of Reeds, we could see seeing another version of the John Krasinski, Reed Richards in it, or a mention of his death from Multiverse of Madness, which could mean we could be seeing the Miles Teller from Fantastic. Even though most people probably wouldn't want to see that character, I'm sure they would change him to make him actually be like Mr. Fantastic with a proper suit and everything. And then we could also be seeing Ian Grufford from the original Fantastic Four movies I'm sure a lot of us grew up on, and that would be extremely cool, because I would just love to see these different characters just make an appearance or a mention of some sort, and doesn't even have to be this movie, in a future one, because we have seen characters like Chris Evans playing Johnny Storm in Deadpool and Wolverine make their appearance once again. And I've also seen people talk about how this could be set up for Franklin and Valeria Richards, which are soon Reed's kids, which Franklin does play an important role in Secret Wars with his reality manipulation powers, as he helps create more multiverses with Molecule Man at the end. It's also been rumored that they're supposed to be making their appearance in this movie, so that would end up being really cool, because that would set up a lot of stuff for when it comes to Secret Wars and different things, because Franklin and Valeria are also a big part of the Fantastic Four family. Plus, if you've never read the comics, you probably wouldn't know these characters, and I only know these characters from a handful of comics, which even for me, I haven't read a lot of Fantastic Four comics. I've read a lot of comics with them in it, but I haven't read their specific comics at all. So I'm very excited to learn more about them. So if you guys have any recommendations for comic books to read for the Fantastic Four, let me know, because I would love to check them out. And on top of it, the last theory, I've seen people talk about how we might see Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom at the very end to set up Secret Wars, and Dr. Doom might actually be from this universe. However, I'm kind of hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping he's kind of like a one-off villain, because I don't really want Dr. Doom to be Robert Downey Jr. I'm not the biggest fan of this casting. I'm hoping we'll see a proper Dr. Doom later down the road. But if this is a multiverse variant who is trying to take over the multiverse and creates Battleworld and stuff, because of the multiverse being destroyed by incursions, which we have seen already start from Multiverse of Madness, that would be pretty cool. So I'm kind of hoping that we will see a different Doctor Doom that will be the main Doctor Doom of the MCU later down the road. I'm just kind of hoping that RDJ is just for Doomsday and Secret Wars, and that's it. But we'll see. If he ends up being from this universe that gets destroyed, and maybe that's what makes him go on this goal to try to create this perfect universe or something, it would be very interesting to see what they do anyways. Kind of hoping RDJ is not in this movie, but we will see. We will definitely see, especially when it comes out later this year. But let me know, what do you think about some of these theories? What are you hoping to see in this movie? And are there any other things that you picked up from this trailer that we didn't talk about? We can talk about it in the comments, and I'd love to know your guys' opinion. I hope you enjoyed this trailer breakdown. Make sure you stay tuned tomorrow for another Spider-Man breakdown when it comes to episodes 3, 4, and 5. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later when it's time to break down more DC and Marvel movies and trailers.